Today we are looking at how to multiply decimals. So we are going to start with a decimal and a whole number. And when we multiply with decimals, we just multiply as we would with whole numbers. So we just multiply like normal. Then you're going to count the number of decimal places in the decimal factor. Okay, so what you're multiplying by. And the product is going to have the same number of decimal places. So let's try this. I'm going to go down here to example 1. And I'm going to set up 6 times 3 and 91/100. Looking at this number, this is really close to 4. So just using estimation, I know that my answer will be somewhere close to 24 because 6 times 4 is 24. So I'm going to set this up. 3 and 91/100 times 6. And when I am working with decimal numbers and I'm multiplying, I do not have to line up the decimal points like we do with adding and subtracting. I just set them up and kind of ignore the decimal point at first. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So I have 6 times 1, then 6 times 9, so there's 54. And then 6 times 3, that's 18, and I add that 5 to get 23. Okay, so now when I'm looking at where to put the decimal point, I have 2 decimal places here. So I'm going to write 2, that stands for decimal places, not Dr. Pepper, 2 DP, decimal places. So there's 2 numbers after the decimal point. I don't have any numbers after a decimal point here. So I'm going to go down here and starting from the right, I'm going to count 1, 2, place that decimal point. And we did say our answer should be close to 24. So this does make sense. It is reasonable. Okay, let's try another one. So 3 times 16 thousandths. So I'm going to set this up. And I'm just going to multiply like I would with whole numbers. So 3 times 6 is 18. I'm going to carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1. There's 4. I'd have 3 times 0, 3 times 0. Okay, so then no decimal places here, but up here I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So I'm going to go down here and count 1, 2, 3. So I would have 48 thousandths. Okay, next we're going to continue with multiplying, but we're going to multiply decimals by decimals. So we're going to follow the same idea. We're going to multiply like we do with whole numbers, but then we are going to add the number of decimal places we have in both factors, so in both numbers. So let's go ahead and practice this. I have 4 and 8/10 times 7 and 2/10. Again, we can do some estimation here. This is close to 5 and this is close to 7, so we should have something close to 35 when we're done here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. And then I'm going to multiply, just kind of ignoring that decimal point for now. So it's almost like I'm multiplying 48 and 72. So I have 2 times 8. 2 times 4 is 8 plus the 1. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and put a 0. Move on to the next one. 7 times 8, there's 56. 7 times 4, there's 28. Add the 5 to get 33. Okay, then I'm adding these together. 6 plus 0, 9 plus 6. Okay, so now for decimal places. I have 1 decimal place here, 1 decimal place here. So that's 2 decimal places altogether. So down here, I'm going to count 1, 2, and place my decimal point. So my answer is close to 35 as we expected. Okay, let's try one more here. 3 and 1/10 times 5/100. Okay, I have 5 times 1. 5 times 3 is 15. And then I'm not going to multiply out the zeros because I know that I'm going to get 0 for all of those. So I'm just going to stop there and look and see how many decimal places I need. So I have 1 decimal place here, 2 decimal places here. So all together, we should have 3 decimal places. So I'm going to go to my product, 1, 2, 3. So I have 155 thousandths. Okay, flip this over, and there are 4 problems. I want you to pause this video and try those problems on your own, set them up, and actually work through them by yourself. But then once you have completed all 4 of these, you can unpause your video to check your work. But I do want you to try them on your own first. All right, you can go ahead and check those answers here. If you made a mistake, go ahead and fix it. Be sure to mark any questions you have. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one then. So here we are going to apply what we know about order of operations. So this one we are evaluating an expression. So you'll notice I have 2 and 44 hundredths times the quantity 4 and 5 tenths minus 3 and 175 thousandths. So the first thing I need to do is what's in parentheses. So I need to subtract first. So I'm going to do this, what's in parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and subtract first. So I'm going to set that up. And when we add and subtract, we do line up our place values or our decimal points. And I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of zeros here so I can subtract. So since I can't do 0 minus 5, I need to turn this into a 10. So I need to go borrow. I have to borrow from this 5. So that becomes a 4, 9, and then here's my 10. So now I have 10 minus 5, 9 minus 7, 4 minus 1, bring down the decimal point, and then 4 minus 3. Okay, so that's what's in parentheses. So if I rewrite this, okay, now I have 2 and 44 hundredths times 1 and 325 thousandths. Now let's go ahead and multiply. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 times 5 to get 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1, there's 13. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 1, there's 5. Okay, I'm going to place a 0 and multiply out the next 4, so I'm going to get the same thing. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 2 is 10. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 1 is 13. And then 4 times 1 plus the 1. Okay, one more time. I need 2 zeros this time. And I'm multiplying the 2. 2 times 5, so there's 10. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 1 is 2. Okay. If you need lined paper for some of these multiplication problems, you can absolutely use it. We do have a lot that we're keeping lined up here. So I'm going to go ahead and add those together. Okay, looks like we have a really big number, but let's look and see how many decimal places we need. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm actually just looking at 3 and 233 thousandths. Okay, go ahead and try this one down here. I have 12 and 67 hundredths plus 8 and 2 tenths times 1 and 9 tenths. Now with this one, we don't have any parentheses. We just have addition and multiplication. So this time you're actually going to do this multiplication first, then go and add. So go ahead and pause the video, give that a try, and then you can unpause to check. All right, so I multiplied and got 15 and 58 hundredths. Then I added and I ended up with 28 and 25 hundredths. All right, last one here. We're going to go ahead and look at a word problem. And in this word problem, it says you buy 2.75 pounds of tomatoes. You give the cashier a $10 bill. We want to figure out how much change you will receive. So we have a couple of steps here, okay? Because first, we need to figure out the cost of the tomatoes. Okay. Tomatoes are $1.89 a pound, so I need to take that and multiply it by the 2.75. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video and work through that one. Okay, so when I multiplied, I ended up with 5.1975. Now, we are working with money here, so that tells us we're just going to round to the nearest hundredths place because I don't go in and say, hey, this costs $5.1975, right? We need to get that to the nearest penny. So if I look here and I round this, I look to the right of that, and that is higher than 5, so I need to round up. So I'm essentially looking to see, is this going to be closer to $5.19 or $5.20? So the cost of the tomatoes would round up to $5.20. Okay. So now we need to subtract that from the cost of the $10. So now we are calculating the change. So that's taking my $10 bill. I'm taking away the $5.20. Okay. You could set this up. You can line up your place values and add, but we can also just think through this. If I give a $10 bill, I take away $5.20. So I give $10. I take away $5, I have 5 left, but then I still need to take away 20 cents, so there's 80 cents. So I would end up with $4.80. Okay, so you will receive $4.80 in change.